Hey friends, it's your pal Mike Shea from Sly Flourish, here with another episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy GM Prep. In this weekly show, I go through steps from my book, Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, to prepare for my Sunday role-playing game. In this case, I am running a Tales of the Valiant game set in the world of Midgard. All of this set in the Dragon Empire of Midgard, known as the Marathi Empire in the Midgard World Book. All of those books, Tales of the Valiant and Midgard, are products of Kobold Press. This show is brought to you by the patrons of Sly Flourish. Patrons get access to all kinds of awesome tips, tricks, tools, accessories, scenarios, extra podcasts, all kinds of stuff you get for becoming a patron of Sly Flourish. Lots of stuff to help you run your games. And you get to join the awesome Lazy GM community over on our Discord server. And you help me directly to put on shows like this. To the patrons of Sly Flourish, thank you so much for your support. Last week, our characters entered the city of Nerderin. They had climbed through, they went through a red portal. So they're finding like all these like secret passageways that are getting them across the Dragon Empire. And they found a red portal. Like, we can bring up a map. So here is our map of the area. Let's zoom this in a little bit and get us a little focused on where we are. Whoops. That looks good. So the characters had been down in the Gittagata Hills at the city of Kukatarma for a good number of sessions. In Kukatarma, they found a ziggurat to Thoth Hermes, and in the bottom of the ziggurat, they found a red portal. The red portal they found out could connect to two other ruined Nerderin to the north and Sayaz to the northeast. They decided to go to Nerderin, went through the red portal, and found themselves in another hidden shrine of another god. I can't remember who. It was in a shrine of Isis, but it was actually a different shrine, hidden shrine there that had the red portal in it, like a god that, god of doorways and portals and stuff like that. So they made their way out of there. They ran into a couple of different groups on the way out, including the mercenaries of the Sharpened Coin, who are worshippers of Mammon. They defeated them and then met the what are known as the Third Finger. Third Finger is a group of thieves and assassins and scouts that worship the same deity that the characters are aligned with. They're not worshippers of, but aligned with the Nakrash, the god Nakrash. It's sort of a demon god Nakrash. Nakrash, known as and the characters are kind of allied with a group known as the lower left hand of Nakrash, which is Nakrash is a god that has multiple hands, and the lower left hand is one of them. And Third Finger is considered the third finger of the lower left hand of Nakrash, which is just kind of a fun thing to say. So the characters met the Third Finger, which is also the middle finger, which I think is fun. So they met the Third Finger, the lower left hand of Nakrash, and they learned about a passageway through nearby mountains. I dumped a fair bit of lore on them about what was going on in Nerderin, because I don't know that they won't return to Nerderin at some point. But they said, no, we want to go back to 440 Fingers. Their goal, I think, is to meet up with their illicit trade caravan. One of the major plot elements of this campaign is that the characters have figured out how to get into a smuggling route between Ashadar, the city of Ashadar, and the Nurien Natal, that there's an illicit trade route between Ashadar and Nurien Natal. And they've tapped into it by hijacking it along the way. And now they have the ability to both like put items in and take items out. And so I think we are going to do that. Like when they get there, I think probably what we'll do is, well, we're going to worry about what they'll do when they get to 440 Fingers after they get to 440 Fingers. 440 Fingers is their home base, kind of a small outpost that sits between the city of Ashadar, the kind of badlands of the Gizmiri, the ruins of Kukatarma, the Gittagata Hills, and of course the desert, Sarkland Desert, and everything else. So I think like a fun element of this game is them taking over this trade route and then hijacking it and then being able to feed their material in and take materials out. There is an opportunity here. We'll see. I'm going to kind of lay it out for them, I guess, but there's an opportunity here for them to be able to dramatically speed up the trade route because they have both a shadow road that they can now walk on, which covers 7 days of travel in 2 days, and a red portal that covers a significant, like 2 weeks of travel instantaneously. So they can speed up their trade route a lot, which means that there's more opportunity for them to feed in stuff and pull stuff out. And also now other groups that are outside of the Dragon Empire that they could work with. So I think there's a lot of interesting aspects to this. The characters are now 5th level. They had gained 5th level before, so I knew like I was going to run 5th level before, but turns out I didn't need to. So that all happened. So then they began their trek into the Shadow Road. And what they in the Shadow Road, they found, where is it? The dead trees of the Twilight Empire. So they found like, I'm going to call it like the Valley of Dead Trees or whatever. And it's a bunch of like dead black trees that drip this like weird black sap. And ghouls can feed off of the sap there. That was actually something I got directly from Ebontides, the book of Ebontides. And the characters saw these ghouls and they were trying to make their way around, but a handful of ghouls saw them and kind of attacked. And then while they were fighting those ghouls, a Darakhul showed up and he's like, hey, what are you guys doing here? So I think there's kind of a neat thing of introducing this new group of Darakhul that operate in the Shadow Road. This particular Shadow Road is a smaller, lesser known Shadow Road that kind of runs in parallel with that. If you see that blue one that goes straight to Ashadar, which I think is called the Scholars, that one's called the Scholar's Path. This one actually cuts through this mountain range. It's sort of a tributary of the Scholar's Path that is known as the Sunless Stream. I think we called it the Sunless Stream. Yeah, the Sunless Stream. So that's the path that they're taking now. And it looks like I've got some secrets I can already pass along. So my goal for today's game, I got a couple things that I want to accomplish in my prep today, and a couple things that I'm doing the prep in order to accomplish some goals for the game today. My goal for the game today is for them to reach 440 fingers. Like I want them to get to the 440 fingers. I don't want to spend a big session. I don't want to spend multiple sessions on a Shadow Road that takes 2 days of travel. I want it to be one session. So that's one benchmark that I've got. Another benchmark is I would like them to have some choices about the path that they're going to take. So I don't want to just have a single path and then have like a set of encounters. I would like them to actually make choices about where they want to go. And then as they make those paths, as they follow those paths and make their way to 440 fingers, I would like for them to run into several situations that they could navigate and manipulate. So not necessarily fights, not necessarily just conversation, not lore dumping, but actual like opportunities for them to do things. So that is what I want to kind of set up today in the game. And so that's nice because it gives me like a real clear focus. Before last game, I wasn't sure if they were going to do more stuff in Nerderin, so I threw a whole bunch of Nerderin lore in that I knew was or was not necessarily going to help. But now I know like they're definitely going this way. I still want to have some opportunities for choices, but I still know the general path that they're going to take. So we're going to create a new session note page here. We're going to do this, my Dragon Empire template. I am using Obsidian to do my game prep today. I only have 4 players today. So I have, let's see, Rowan is out. Tolstoy is out. Emmert is there. Mateo is out. So we have 4 characters today. So I'm going to talk about this on the talk show, but we came close to not being able to run today's game. But I do now for this group, I have 6 regular players and one on-call player. And the way that works, there was a video that went around this past week. I'm going to talk about this in the talk show. There was a video that went around this past week where a guy did like a scientific evaluation of why it's so hard to coordinate a D&D game. And it was really interesting stuff. And he brought up a point, which is, kind of what I've got, which is it's really hard to schedule a D&D game. Every person that you add to a group that has to be there reduces the likelihood that you're going to be able to find the right time to play by a lot. And there were sort of like 3 factors that went into it. And it was like the number of people that you've got, the number of slots those that are available overall, and then the number of slots that each person couldn't meet. And as those changed, the likelihood of getting a game was a lot less. And my trick for this, which I've used now for many years, more than a decade, probably almost 20 years I've been using this, and it's let me have consistent weekly games, multiple groups, multiple consistent weekly games for almost, I think about 17 or 18 years. And the trick is that I have 6 regular players. I like to have 2 on-call players, but both right now I only have 1 on-call player for each of my groups. So it's like a 6+1. And we play with as few as 4. And what that means is it takes 4 people canceling before I can't have a game, right? More than half of the total amount of people have to not be able to make it for us to not have a game. And then their question is like, well, what do you do with the characters of the people who left? And they fade away. You come up with if you can come up with a reason, you come up with a reason. If you can't, you just say they're not there, right? And you just remove them from the story, and that's okay. There are, of course, problems where like continuity among a character's arc or something like that. But generally speaking, it's not a problem. And you tell everybody up front, like everybody understands how it works. The on-call players know they're on-call players. They know, and they have the freedom to say no. Like because they're an on-call player, they are not guaranteed a spot, and nor are you guaranteed that they can make it. So on-call players are like usually those players who like, I would really like to do it, but I don't know that I can commit every week. And you're like, great, how about we put you on an on-call list, right? And then they're like, oh, okay. And then we'll call you when we have a seat open. And because you have 6 regular players, you might have a seat open pretty regularly, right? Like I've a lot of time in some cases, I know in my Wednesday game, the player who's an on-call player is there more often than one of the players is a regular player, right? And I should rotate them, but like it just kind of works out that way. So today was a good example where I have 1 on-call player who is going to make it, the player who's playing Emmert, and then we had 3 of our regular players couldn't make it, and yet I still have 4. So I still have enough to run the game. 2 of them are going to be playing online. 2 of them are going to be playing in person. So 2 of them are coming over to my place, and we're going to play here. And then we're going to have an iPhone set up with a camera on the grid, and then people can play on Discord, and we'll keep track of that. So these are the 4 characters. Amavin. So Amavin is a rogue. He knows the sly ways of Parsis the Hidden. That could come into play when we're talking about Parsis's role in the money train in the caravan. Hey, my mom is here. Hi, Mom. We have Gaudenzia. Gaudenzia is a ranger who used to work for Ibelin the Illustrious and knows their greed. Cal had a vineyard, former vineyard owner, former vineyard owner. Is there a secret in today's, would probably know that the growth and foliage of the Shadow Roads is very different. Emmert probably knows this too. So Emmert had a village outside of Sayaz that was completely destroyed by the Dragon Empire. Can feel the Shadow Roads shifting. With 4 characters, there's actually more opportunity for more character-focused stuff. So that's something I should kind of keep in mind while I'm thinking about the rest of my secrets, which is the reason that we focus on our characters first, the first step of our prep. The reason why I do it is the first step of my prep. I don't know what you do. You can do whatever you want. I'm not the boss of you. So our strong start today is meeting a Darakul. So what is a Darakul, you might ask? A Darakul is an intelligent ghoul. They are imperial ghouls. There's actually 2 groups of Darakul. And we're going to take a look. Let's see. We'll flip over to our stuff here. And I already have Book of Ebb and Tides opened. One of the things I like running Midgard games and Kobold Press games in general is Kobold Press has tons of material available that fill out their setting and fill out their world. There's lots of different stuff that we can use to fill it out. And Book of Ebb and Tides is one of those. I've used the Book of Ebb and Tides pretty heavily in my Empire of the Ghouls campaign, which was a fantastic campaign. Loved Empire of the Ghouls. And we use Shadow Roads a lot because there's a lot of travel, and that worked well for us. So the Twilight Empire, and this is probably a secret, that the Twilight Empire, I'm just going to put this down in a secret. The Twilight Empire is the Shadow Realms equivalent to the Ghoul Imperium on Midgard. And they have a duke. The Darakul are also active in the Shadow Realm, and their empire is here, if anything, even more dangerous, as it relies on alliances with shadow dragons and a cave dragon lich, Dreadwing. That's kind of cool. That's a fun secret. I don't know how the characters would know this. The fact that there is a Dracolich, a dragon lich out there. They can visit, their ability to walk Shadow Roads and to visit Ebermaw, the planar of undead, also makes the Shadow Realms Darakul exceptionally dangerous. So they have a closer connection here. I think that's the Darakul of the Shadow Realm, of the Twilight Empire, right, has a close connection to Evermaw and its gods, Vardazane. And there's another god, Mott, right? I think is Mott and Mott. That Mott point is important because one of the characters, he's not here today. That's a bummer. The realm was ruled by an emperor who considers Necrophorus his imperial cousin, and the two nations seem to exchange ambassadors, trade goods, blah, 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 blah. The primary difference is the ghouls in the Shadow Realm have the ability to feed on strange trees of the crackling forest, which means they hunt and devour humanoids somewhat less often, plus fewer in number. North and west of Blackwood, where the Shadow Fae dwell, is a great pit in the Shadow Realm's landscape. Oh, I have a map for that too. So there's our map. And this area here is where the Twilight Empire operates, right? And I love the idea of the village, of a place called Evernight. Let's go back to that Empire. See what else we can take here. So Emperor Vilmos Curing, known as the Black Fang, leads the Twilight Empire. That's probably important. So I kind of like this. We're probably gonna drop this in because I think it's gonna matter to some of the locations they might visit. That there's a nearby city called Evernight. Great name for a city. And Evernight is the center of faith where a duke, a Darakul duke, runs it. And there's a group called the Midnight Company. So I think we're gonna have an NPC who's gonna be a Darakul who's a member of the Midnight Company. And I think is probably out here just making sure the ghouls have something to eat. So I've got that. Is there anything else I needed from here? I think an interesting bit of politics. I already have a bunch of secrets. I don't think I'm going to bother with another secret because I got other things going on here too. There's another group that I want to have operating here. And I think it's fun. It's sort of an antithesis to this group known as the Blue Barbers. But they're the Court of Midnight Teeth, they call themselves. And they are mostly a gnomish with pointed teeth and blue hair. So I think these are probably two secrets right here that I can drop in. And instead of saying the gnomes are particular creatures, we'll say the Midnight Teeth are particular creatures, are peculiar creatures. Pointed teeth, narcissistic tendencies, blue hair, or in the case of the Countess of the Midnight Teeth, all three. Countess Flamora Gladrine, influential and loyal vassal of the Queen of Night and Magic, is refined and fashionable gnome, bedecked in fine silks and gleaming jewels that complement her azure hair. I don't know if I need that. Loyal vassal of the Queen of Night. That little political bit is probably a worthy secret. The Blue Barbers serve the Court of Midnight Teeth as... And I have a fun. Valets, barbers, art dealers, decorators, stylists, smugglers, assassins, and thieves. Right? As valets, barbers, art dealers, decorators, stylists, assassins, smugglers, and thieves. Very handy if you're trying to build an alliance with the lower left hand in Akrash. So I got that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that right? 2, 4, 6, 8. I have 8 secrets. We're going to sit on those 8 for now and come back to them. I think that's enough information. So let's see. So I have the thing about Evernight, the city of the Darakul city. Darakul city of Evernight sits on there. Okay, cool. Switch back to my Obsidian notes. So I threw some secrets in here. So my strong start. I need a name for this Darakul. So we'll go with a random generator here. We'll come up with an NPC name. And Althaz is pretty good. Althaz Ebonchewer, Ebonwind, Ebonmaul, Ebonblade. And he is what? Is he a captain? He's a captain of the Midnight Company who's what? He is checking in on one of the many forests of those. Let's see, where are they? The forests where they eat, where the ghouls eat the trees. The crackling forests. One of the many forests of, what is it? Many valleys? No. So they, ghouls, they care for the ghouls, right? They're like, well, we want to make sure the forests are going okay and that the ghouls are eating there and that nobody's pestered them. And then Althaz showed up here when the characters happen to arrive, right? And we'll see how that situation goes. So let's see. Meeting Captain Captain Althaz Ebonblade of the Midnight Imperium. What are they called? The Midnight Company, the Twilight Empire. The Darkhold of the Twilight Empire. I don't need more notes than that. It could go a couple of different ways. So what does Althaz want? So if you were a Darkhold captain, you were sent out to kind of check on one of the forests of crackling trees to see if the ghouls are all doing okay and that nobody's harassed them, that you know, they're all over. There's like these feeding grounds for the ghouls, right? There's thousands of ghouls out there. So you're a captain, you go out there and you see, you see this group of adventurers that come by. Probably your first thought is like, well, I'm going to have to wipe them out and make sure that word of this passageway never reaches anywhere else because we don't want other people coming here screwing with our fancy trees. But there could be an opportunity there if the characters are able to bring something that can benefit the Twilight Empire or benefit Althaz, right? Get him rank and station. And so what do they want? What would the Twilight Empire want that the characters could give them from the Dragon Empire? So I think a secret would be that the Twilight Empire is aware that the dragons of the Maraudi use the Scholar's Path. They also use another one. We're going to go to the Midgard World book here. We're going to go to the Midgard World book and we're going to look up the Shadow Roads in here because I think that, if I recall, there was something else with one of the other Shadow Roads that was being run by the dragons. Here we go. So, Dragon's Coil. It's funny that this one doesn't have the Scholar's Path listed on here. It has the Grey Way, which is interesting, and the Angel's Road, which cuts through here. But Dragon's Coil, the heart of the Maraudi elemental magic, this ley line powers most of the larger magical workings of the Dragon Empire. Dragons feud over lands where its rivulets move, and its various portals are all controlled by the Morza and Tamarli, just as the portals in the Dorning are controlled. It's very safe set of roads for the Dragonkin. Jambuka are forbidden. So this is a good one. I don't know how I summarize all of that. So the Twilight Empire is aware that the Maraudi use the Scholar's Path and the Dragon's Coil to travel through the Shadow Realm. The dragons control it on both sides. The Twilight Empire doesn't like it. So they're probably against the dragons too, which helps. I think that could be advantage. I have not yet filled out any real scenes. So our first scene is the Darkhold, meeting with the Darkhold. Could go, well or poorly, we'll find out. And now, so other scenes. So then choice. So then we're going to have, what I'm going to do is like the point crawl along the Sunless stream. So I did some homework for this yesterday because I wanted to, so I was like, I'm trying to do all of this on this show. I wouldn't have the time. And I wanted to set up kind of, so my goal was I want them to get through the Sunless stream in one session. And I want them to have some choices about what path they go. And very typically for this, a point crawl is a good idea. So a quick primer on what a point crawl is. A point crawl is essentially a way of having long distance travel. It can be underground or overland. And a point crawl is essentially a bunch of different points. Those points could be a monument, the points could be a city, they can be anything, but they're essentially like a location. The location might be anything as small as a cavern that contains a monument to an old god or whatever, but it also could be an entire city. And then pathways that connect those points together. And the characters can choose which pathway they want to take in order to go through the point. And you could decide like how long it takes to travel along a pathway. Probably in this area, I would say it's not quite a day. It's probably a half a day's travel along any one path. Half a day will kind of get you from one location to another. So, but I also like, so I have sort of practical thoughts here, which is I want it to be done in one session. The session is 3 hours. So how many scenes do I need? So I typically say that any given scene on the average takes about 45 minutes. So if a scene takes about 45 minutes, right, 3 times 60 is 180 divided by 45. So I need about 4 scenes. And I have 2 scenes, so this actually means I probably need a fewer. Well, I'm going to do 5 because I can always cut one if I need to, or I can speed things along. So I'm gonna have about 5 scenes planned, but I want them to have choices in what scene they have. And so to keep it kind of slim, I'm going to have only 2 possible choices at any junction. And what I ended up doing was essentially creating a point crawl that's sort of like a figure 8, where you have a place where you start, 2 choices you can go that go to 2 different locations. Then those locations narrow down to 1 place that you're going to have. Then that splits back off into 2 other locations and then narrows back down again. So like imagine like 2 diamonds, right? You don't have to imagine it because I can show it to you. So this is the point crawl that I put together yesterday. And you'll notice it's actually slightly bigger than that. But basically, they're starting in the Valley of Dead Trees. That's where they're going to meet the Daracool. Then they have a choice of following the pathway of radiant mushrooms. There's like one spot where there's like mushrooms that glow with like a white glow that heads to a bottomless cavern. Or there's another one that has friendly wisps that go to the Grasping Well. And then the Grasping Well leads to the River of Endless Falls and the Stream of Endless Falls, which is actually in that map that I showed. There is a River of Endless Falls. Let's see if I can zoom in. Yeah, the Endless Falls are right here, and it's kind of near Evernight. So my thought is like the pathway actually can go outside. It'll probably still be kind of underground. But those pathways lead to the Parlor of the Blue Barbers. So there's going to be like a large cavern, and in that cavern there's going to be this nice place, and it's like totally out of place. You know, this nice place where you can go and get a mani-pedi, get a new hairstyle done, or hire assassins. And it's run by the Blue Barbers and the Blue Barbers who worship this other thing. And that's because I wanted the characters to run the Blue Barbers. Then they have 2 pathways that they can take from the pathway of Blue Barbers in order to get out of the Sunless stream the other direction. They can follow the giant worm tunnel, or they can follow the rotted roots. The rotted roots lead to an ancient mushroom. The giant worm tunnel leads to the Twilight Beacon. And then those have pathways, Styx Flow, or the Star-Touched Walkway, that lead to the Forgotten Shrine in Nekrash, right? And so if you think about this, now I know I have that Grasping Well, and the Grasping Well has the River of Endless Falls that leads to Evernight. That's actually just them to know about it. The expectation is that they will not take it. So if you think about it this way, it's really scene 1 is Valley of Dead Trees. Scene 2 is either the Bottomless Cavern of the Grasping Well. Scene 3 is the Parlor of the Blue Barbers. Scene 4 is Ancient Mushrooms or Twilight Beacon. And scene 5 is the Forgotten Shrine in Nekrash. Like those are the locations. And we can put them in my fantastic locations here. So we have Valley of Dead Trees and aspects that I'm going to go back to like the old school Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master of having like 3 interesting things about this. So we have like necrotic pools. We have fossilized stalagmites, and we have grasping trees or trees of black sap, right? Then we have 2 other ones, the bottomless cavern. What would 3 interesting aspects? We could have draconic bones, we could have spirit mists, and we could have, what else would be? It's headed to the Parlor of Blue Barbers. We could have old cable car, right? Gnomish. That sounds fun. Grasping Well, we have a well full of ghouls, Daracool outpost, and what else would be at the Grasping Well? Starlit Fissure. The Starlit Fissure would be like a crack in the thing where light shines down and the ghouls hate it. That'd be kind of neat. Parlor of Blue Barbers. We'll have like decorated outposts. We will have nice parlor, obviously, the Parlor of Blue Barbers. And what? A shrine of, who's the lady that runs the Blue Barbers? Flamara. I might have a god too, I'm not sure. So that's the parlor, but then Ancient Mushroom. We have small singing mushrooms, hallucinogenic mist. I have no idea how to spell hallucinogenic. Wasn't even close. We could have like petrified stone giants. I kind of like that. That's Ancient Mushroom. Twilight Beacon, large glyphed glowing stone. We could have Bearfolk outpost, campsite with the Bearfolk campsite. And what? Anything else for the Twilight Beacon? Handprint on walls, like the visitors go by. Or we could have standing stones. We'll do the old school like standing stone piles, traveler stone piles. And cairns, right? That's cool. And the Forgotten Shrine in Nekrash, we've visited before. So Statue of Nekrash What else? So this would be kind of like a home base for them. Scry-proof glyphs and hidden passageways. Okay. So that fills out all of these, I've got like little details for each of these things. And I've got my secrets. Do I need anything more for these? So I need some NPCs because I need a blue beard, what are they called? The blue barber. I like Jeanette Ghost Cowl. It's kind of fun. And she operates. What would the name of this parlor be? So Jeanette Ghost Cowl, and she operates this parlor, but the parlor probably has a name. Windhome? We'll just go with Windhome. That sounds nice. It's not the best name I've ever heard before. And then we probably want a bear folk scout that they might run into. Loden Half Claw. Loden Half Paw. Bear folk scout. Those are 3 like interesting NPCs the characters might run into. So that's good. So now we need monsters. So what creatures could they run into? Well, we can go to our Game Master guide here. So there's a couple things. One we in the Book of Ebb and Tides, they actually have encounters. So we might take a look at these. There's a Shadow Realms encounters list. And we might go with his because it might be a little bit more flavorful. They are tier 2, so CR 5 to 9. Trio of Death Wisps. Begins to stalk the party. The wisps were born and 3 murdered. So I had wisps before. A chorus of barks herald the arrival of 2 hounds of the night, followed by a keeper of hounds. The keeper is training the dogs to hunt humanoids, and they're delighted to sick the dogs on vulnerable prey. And I don't know if that would happen below. Haunting, rustling carriers on the wind as 2 birch sirens have flanked the party, hoping to ensnare them with enchantments. PCs are ambushed by a pair of Malphas, Tome of Beasts. Let's take a look at the Tome of Beasts here. We'll bring this up here. I haven't used the Tome of Beasts in a while. Oh, interesting. Look at these guys. Malphas are, they're CR6. Ooh, difficult. So the characters are 5th level. So the lazy encounter benchmark would be 10. So facing 2 of these guys would be deadly, above the threshold. They're kind of cool though. Raven assassins. It could be dangerous. They do, let's see. Multi-attack me 2 longsword attacks or 3 shadow bolt attacks. The shadow bolt attacks are 14 damage each. 2 longsword attacks are 18 damage apiece. So that's 36 damage they do. Ooh, that's dangerous. I think we'll do like 1 Malpha and some could have like swarms of ravens. I kind of like that. So Malpha is on page 262 and we'll do plus raven swarms. I think that's better, right? One of these would be really dangerous. Two of them would be really brutal for a random encounter anyway. So that sounds fun. I like that. I wonder who would be killing them. I wonder who would be going after them. Who would care enough to go after them? Maybe it's just unknown. This is the picture of the Malpha, by the way. Cool, Raven Assassin. Keen eyes, dangerous winged fey warriors dressed in finery. What other, let's see, other encounters? So Malphas. Pathhead is filled with black webbing. Successful check. It's coming from a somber weave. I don't know what that is. A pile of armor and other belongings can be seen through the trees. The items lie beneath a Goliath Longlegs creature codex that attacks with paralytic web when the PCs are within range. Mylings. What are Mylings? Oh, I think Mylings are in this. That picture is really creepy of the lady with 6 arms. I think that's a creature from this. So I want to know what that is. Rose Golem. That looks fun. Kind of like the Rose Golem. Would be a good time. River Spirit. Memory Thief. I don't know what that crazy multi-arm thing is. Must be from one of the other books. Let's take a look at other potential encounters. We can always reskin some of these things too. So those are forest encounters. Marshes and rivers, which is kind of along the rain here. A Shadow River Lord would be kind of fun. Almost like a wraith. It's funny, it has all these like plains and hills, and you're like, these can work pretty much anywhere. Kind of like Rose Golem. That'd be kind of fun. On the road. Could have a Drider, Shadow Fae Drider. Are there Driders in the Monster Vault? There are. What do they look like? They are CR6, so that's about right. That looks cool. What other kind of groups could they run into here? I mean, those are kind of 3 fun ones. I don't know that I need how many different monster groups I need. I think we're going to stick with those because those all sound like fun ones. You know, I don't know that I'm going to run like 3 combat encounters either. So I'm probably not going to use all of them, but I don't need to have like a ton. Myconids are probably a one that they might run into. And that's in the Monster Vault on page 262. So there's 4. If I want to randomly, I can even make these a number for just a real lightweight random encounter table. Treasure. I wanted to try, let's see, we're already over in time. So I'm going to just grab a treasure hoard. This looks fun. There's some golden treasure. A potion of clairvoyance sounds like a good time. And a ring of feather falling sounds like a fun magic item. I think last time I had intended to drop in an actual magic weapon that somebody could use. Twilight Shadowy Short Sword, able to suck magic out of something and cast Still Spell Magic. I like that. Both of these, I'm going to move these along because I went through the trouble of making these. And I think that they would be useful bits of treasure. So I have got myself a good list. Got my characters, strong start, got my scenes, secrets and clues, fantastic locations, notable NPCs, monsters, and treasure. The 8 steps are done in 500 words. And if I'm going to go export to PDF, and we are going to export and see how it looks. It looks good. Plenty of room. Oh, that's perfect. We're going to print that out for my game today. I'm also going to print out my point crawl. I have a version that's white, so I'm not going to kill my poor printer. All right, got that. Friends, I want to thank all of you for hanging out with me today while I prepped for my game. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you like this show and you want to get more stuff like this, please consider subscribing to the Sly Flourish newsletter. It's absolutely free to sign up. You get a free adventure generator for signing up, and you get a weekly RPG-related email with links to all of the other work that I do and a focused on a main tip to help you run your games. You can also support me directly on Patreon. Patrons get access to all kinds of tips, tricks, tools, scenarios, a whole separate podcast, lots of stuff you get for being a patron. You get to join the Sly Flourish Discord community, and you help me put on shows like this. That's for the Sly Flourish Patreon. You can find a link to that in the show notes. And you can pick up any of my books, including Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, Lazy DM's Companion, Forge of Foes, City of Arches, and more on the Sly Flourish bookstore. Links for all of those are in the show notes. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and get out there and play an RPG.